Hello students, thank you for joining me. I am Prashant NR, Associate Professor, Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, Kalpataru Institute of Technology, Tiptur. Today, I am here to give a presentation on implementation fabrics. In this module 3, that is implementation fabrics, we are going to study about integrated circuits, programmable logic devices, packaging and circuit boards, interconnection and signal integrity. The referred textbook is An Embedded Systems Approach using Verilog by Peter J. A. This module 3 is in chapter 6 in this textbook. Today in this session, let us discuss about integrated circuits. In this integrated circuits, we are going to study about what are integrated circuits, small scale integration and medium scale integration logic families. In case of medium scale integration, we are going to study an example how to design a 4-bit decimal counter with a 7-segment LED display, small scale integration and very large scale integration, and application specific integrated circuits abbreviated as ASIC. First, let us define what is integrated circuits. Integrated circuits is an electronic circuit formed on a small piece of conducting material which performs the same function as a larger circuit made from discrete components. We go for calling that as an integrated circuit. Now, before integrated circuits, how we used to construct any digital systems? Before integrated circuits, digital systems were constructed using discrete switching components such as relays, vacuum tubes, and transistors. Then we started manufacturing of multiple transistors and connections on surface of silicon wafers, which we called it as integrated circuits. Integrated circuits was invented by Chuck Kilby at Texas Instruments in 1958. The techniques were refined by several developers and the market for ICs grew rapidly during 1960s and it is ongoing. Let us know the different types of integrated circuits. Different types of integrated circuits are digital integrated circuits, analog integrated circuits, mixed integrated circuits. Mixed integrated circuits means we go for using both digital and analog components to manufacture. Let us have a comparison between integrated circuits and discrete circuits. In case of integrated circuits can work on low voltage, whereas discrete circuits require comparatively more voltage. Integrated circuits can handle limited amount of power, whereas discrete circuits can handle much more power than integrated circuits. Integrated circuits are very small in size, whereas discrete circuits with discrete components acquire large space. Integrated circuits are cheap, whereas discrete circuits are costlier than integrated circuits. Complex circuitry on a chip may be used to obtain improved performance and characteristics in case of integrated circuits, whereas discrete circuits performance itself is not good. Let us study how we are going to manufacture the integrated circuits. Implementation fabrics for digital systems are based on integrated circuits which are manufactured on the surface of a wafer of pure crystalline silicon using a sequence of photographic and chemical process steps. Then let us know what is photographic and chemical process steps. Photographic processing is the chemical means by which photographic film or paper is treated after photographic exposure to produce a negative or a positive image. We are going to manufacture a number of identical rectangular ICs together and it will be broken apart for individual packaging. That means that we go for manufacturing ICs in mass. A number of identical rectangular ICs together will be manufactured and it will be broken apart for individual packaging. Before the chip manufacturing, preparation is important. We start with an ingot material of pure crystalline silicon, right? This is formed. This cylindrical ingot of crystalline silicon is sawn into wafers less than a millimeter thick and it is polished. Before wafers were 50 mm in diameter, after improvements in manufacturing process, it has yielded up to 300 mm in diameter. Let us know what is positive and negative resist. For positive resist, the resist is exposed with UV light wherever the underlying material is to be removed. That means that we go for exposing the UV light wherever we want to remove the underlying material. In this resist, exposure to the UV light changes the chemical structure of the resist, so it becomes more soluble in the developers. When it is exposed to UV light, when you are going to put that in the developer solution, that will be soluble. The exposed resist is then washed away by the developer solution, leaving windows of the base underlying material. Right? This is about your positive resist. Now you come for negative resist here. Negative resist behave in just the opposite manner of positive resist. The exposure to the UV light causes the negative resist to become polymerized and more difficult to dissolve. Right? The exposed part with the UV light causes the negative resist to become polymerized and it is more difficult to dissolve. Therefore, the negative resist remains on the surface where it is exposed and developer solution removes only the unexposed portions where it is just opposite to the positive resist. Let us see the processing steps involved in IC manufacturing. The processing of manufacturing a circuit on the wafer surface involves a number of steps. It will change the properties of certain area of the surface or add a surface layer of some material in certain areas. There are several kinds of processing steps that can be applied to selected areas of the wafer, including ion implementation and chemical processing. Now let us know what is etching. Chemically removing an underlying film of material that has been deposited on the surface, we go for calling it as an etching. This film includes an insulating material such as silicon dioxide, that is mentioned as SiO2. This wafer is a semiconducting material, right, made up of polysilicon, and we are going to use conducting materials such as aluminum and copper for connection purpose. Right? Here we go for having the chemical processing steps based on photolithography. Then what is photolithography? Photolithography is the process of transferring geometric shapes on a mask to the surface of a silicon wafer. We're having a lot of steps in photolithographic etching. The very first step is the wafer and film coated with resist. Second figure, the B figure shows exposures through a photo mask. Figure 3 shows the resist developed. Figure D shows etching of the underlying film. E shows the remaining resist stripped here. Let us go in detail now. The very first starts with an oxide covered with silicon wafer. This is the oxide which we go for calling it as a film. On a wafer, a thin layer is drawn. Next, then the surface is coated with a thin layer of photoresist. Over this film, we go for having a thin layer of photoresist. This is shown in figure 1. Start with an oxide covered with silicon wafer. Coming to the second one, exposures through a photomask. The surface is exposed to light through a mask. This is the UV light that has opaque and transparent areas in the pattern to be drawn. You can see the opaque as well as the transparent areas here. This is the UV light. This we go for calling it as a mask here. The resist is developed, dissolving either the exposed area or unexposed area. Depending on the kind of resist, we go for dissolving that in the developer solution. Here it is a positive resist which I have used here. Figure D, etching of underlying film. We came to know what is etching. Immersing everything into the developer solution removes the exposed resist. As I told you, it's a for positive resist. This removes the underlying material. Right? Figure E. The remaining resist is stripped. Photoresist is washed away using a simple solvent solution like acetone, which we go for using for nail polish. Right? Now, the wafer with patterned oxide is ready to go for next step in process. That means that we are not manufacturing any components here. Just we are going to have a patterned oxide which is ready to go for next step in process. Right? Once the circuits on the wafer is manufactured, right, they must be tested to determine which one is working and which do not works or which is defective. Let us know what are the reasons for getting defected ICs. While manufacturing, small defects can be introduced into an individual IC because of because of stray particles conceal light during photolithography, or it may be due to impurities occurring in chemical steps, or by particles impinging on wafers during handling in the manufacturing process. After testing, discard the ICs which do not work. Their cost is transferred or managed or amortized over working chips. The discarded ICs will be maintained by the working chips. The yield is directly proportional to the manufactured chip that work. Larger ICs have an increased chance of being defective So it is better for designers to constrain IC area to reduce cost. Finally, working chips are packed and tested further. In advanced IC technology, during photolithography, includes using of higher resolution marks and shorter wavelength of light, reducing the feature size results in smaller chips for a given function, thus reducing the cost also. It also allows more circuitry to be placed on the chip of a given size, thus increasing functionality. It also reduces circuit delays, allowing higher operating speed. This is the thing when you go for reducing the feature size. Then what is process nodes? The technology process nodes refers to a specific semiconductor manufacturing process and its design rules. What are the design rules? We come across many technology in different years. Let us see. We had 350 nanometer technology in 1995, 250 nanometer technology in 1998, 180 nanometer technology in 2000, 130 nanometer technology in 2002, 90 nanometer technology in 2004, 65 nanometer technology in 2007, 45 nanometer technology in 2010, 32 nanometer technology in 2013, 22 nanometer technology in 2016, 16 nanometer technology in 2019. Generally, the smaller the feature size, producing smaller transitions which are faster and more power efficient. Right? Next, let us go for what is small scale integration and medium scale integration. When we go for calling that as a small scale integration, we go for calling this a small scale integration when we have less than 100 components, that is about 10 gates. Medium scale integration when we have a less than and 500 components, and it should be obviously more than 10 gates but less than 100 gates. In 1964, Texas Instruments introduced 5400, 7400 families of TTL ICs. TTL means transistor logic. 5400 and 7400 families of TTL ICs are the basis of logic families. The 5400 family components were manufactured for high reliability military applications when we required operation over large temperature ranges. That means that this 5400 was not commercial here. That means that it was manufactured for high reliability military applications wherever we required operation over large temperature ranges. 7400 family components were used for commercial as well as industrial applications. Other IC manufacturers also are followed, making 7400 family a de facto standard. Then what is meant by de facto here? That means that whether they had the right to manufacture or not, they manufactured to give the same thing which 7400 used to give here. In small scale integration, the components in the 7400 family are numbered to the logic functions they provide. For example, 7400 components provide 4 NAND gates. 7427 provides 4 NOR gates. 7474 provides 2 D flip-flop. Since these components integrate relatively smaller number of circuit elements, they are referred to as small-scale integrated circuits, abbreviated as SSI. As the manufacturing technology advanced, larger circuit would be integrated, leading to medium-scale integration, abbreviated as MSI. Example: 7490 is a 4-bit counter. 7494 is a 4-bit shift register. Let us see now the other logic families. Different variations of the components within 7400 family having different circuitry and different electrical characteristics as follows. Components in this family are identified by inclusion of letter L in the part number. You can see here 74L00, 74L74, where L represents for low power. Another variation used in Schottky diodes within the internal circuits to reduce switching delays, that is speed will be more, that is fast switching. These components includes the letter S in the part number. For example, 74S00, 74S74. This 74ALS00 is a advanced low power Schottky family. 74F00 is a fast family component. Major problem with the TTL circuits, whereas we use bipolar transistor having relatively high power consumption when not switching also. The power will be consumed at the time of when the transistor is also off. CMOS families. CMOS uses field effect transistors. 4000 family was the earliest CMOS logic components. It consumes low power. They operate over larger power supply ranging from 3 volts to 15 volts. We got 74HC00 family in 1980 that were compatible with TTL components. They provided the same functionality with power consumption and comparable speed. 74AHC00 family gave improved speed and electrical characteristics, and these were compatible with TTL logic. Let us go for large scale integration. During 1970s, IC technology developed to large scale integration, at which it became feasible to provide a smaller computer, a microprocessor, or a single chip. Thus, custom large scale integration chips used for higher volumes applications. 7400 family components, that is small scale integration and medium scale integration family, were commonly used as glow logic, that is simple logic circuits for interconnecting large scale integration components. For example, multi-bit tri-state drivers, registers, and other functions were replaced by programmable logic device. In order to design a 4-bit decimal counter with a 7-segment display, we need IC 74LS390, which is a dual decade counter, and IC 74LS47, a decoder bar driver circuit. Let us know the pin descriptions of both one by one. This is the IC 74LS390, which is a dual decade counter, right? 74LS390 is a dual decade counter. 74LS390 each contain a pair of high-speed 4-stage ripple counter. Each half of the LS390 is partitioned into a divide by 2 section and a divide by 5 section with a separate clock input for each section. The 2 sections can be connected to count in 8421 BCD at the final output. In LS390, the flip-flops are triggered by a high to low transition of their clock pulse inputs. Each half of each circuit type has a master reset input which responds to a high signal by forcing all 4 outputs to low state. This is the pin description of IC 74LS390. Let us come for IC 74LS47, which is a decoder bar driver circuit which you have studied in the 3rd semester while implementing 7-segment display. Right? The circuit accepts 4-bit binary coded decimal. You go for saying A, B, C, D, which are the inputs of your BCD. And depending on the state of the auxiliary inputs, decodes this data to drive 7-segment display. The ripple blank input, that is RBI, and ripple blank output RBO, are used to turn off any leading 0 digits in the displayed value. When lamp test input LT is low, it turns all segments on. This is the pin descriptions of your 74LS390, which is a dual decode counter, and IC 74LS47, a decoder bar driver circuit. Now, let us have a problem. Using the following components to design a 4-digit decimal counter with a 7-segment LED display, 2 74LS390 dual decade counters, 4 74LS47 BCD to 7-segment displays, plus an additional gates required. Let us come for designing of a BCD counter first. We go for using here. The 74LS390 components contains 2 counters each as shown in figure. The first flip-flop is triggered by high to low of the CPO input signal. You can see here. The first flip-flop is triggered by high to low of the CPU 0 input signal. Each of the other flip-flops is triggered by high to low transition of the Q output of the preceding flip-flops. Each of the other flip-flops is triggered by high to low transition of the Q output. This is the Q output which you go for getting here. Thus, state changes of the Q outputs do not change simultaneously. That means that we are triggering the Q output and we don't have a common clock. It is asynchronous here. So that Q outputs do not change simultaneously. A decade counter can be designed by using the single bit counter for the LSB and connecting Q0 output externally to CPU1. This is shown here. When Q0 changes from 1 to 0, it causes the MSB to count up. A high signal on MR forces, that is master reset, forces all outputs to the low state. The outputs of a given decade changing from 1001 to 0000 should cause the next decade to count up and AND gate to generate the clock for the next decade. Right? Just we have designed a counter. This counter, with the help of 74LS47, we are going to design a 4-digit decimal counter with display. See here, this is a circuit which you have designed the counter part. This is the decoder bar driver circuit along with LED. The inputs A through D, A, B, C, D are the BCD values. Sorry, this ABCD are the ABCD are the BCD values, with A being the LSB and D being the MSB. The segment outputs A through G are active low, allowing them to drive cathodes of a 7-segment display. The registers are required to limit the current flowing in each segment. Yeah, this we go for calling it as a current limiting resistors. This is the design for a 4-bit decimal counter with display, right? And the drawing the circuit diagram is most important here. Next, we'll go for very large scale integration and application specific integrated circuits. Very large scale integration circuit is the process of creating an integrated circuit by combining millions of MOS transistors onto a single chip. Is a process of creating an integrated circuit by combining millions of metal oxide semiconductor transistors onto a single chip. The development of IC technology behind the large scale integration level leads to very large scale integration circuits, which we call it as VLSI. Now we'll see what is application specific integrated circuits. ASICs refers to an IC manufactured for particular application. That means that we may go for manufacturing for a particular application. It may be designed for a particular end product. So this kind of ASICs is also called as application specific standard products, abbreviated as ASSPS. For example, a portable music player, a toy, an automobile, a piece of military equipment, etc. Generally, an ASIC design will be undertaken for a product that will have a large production run. That is when you go for mass production. The ASIC may contain a very large part of the electronics on a single integrated circuits. Let us go for different types of ASICs. Let us see the classification of application specific integrated circuits. In this application specific integrated circuits, we can classify into full custom, semi-custom application specific integrated circuits, programmable IC. In that we go for having PLDs as well as FPGA, CPLD, right? Just we go for studying them. Now, in case of semiconductor semi-custom design, again we go for having classification into gate arrays and standard cell based here. In your syllabus, they have gone for explaining what is full custom ASIC and standard cell based ASIC. Right? Let us come to full custom design. When engineers have a specific application to be designed and they are bothered about the performance, speed, power and cost, they will have to go for full custom design when they want to satisfy all the design matrix of speed, power, cost, performance, etc. It involves detailed design of all the transistors. That means that they go for designing from the scratch. In full custom application specific integrated circuit design yields an high performance, that is, it have best performance but has high NRE cost. NRE cost means non-recurring cost, right? And even it requires expertise with the design team. They should be very expert with the design, right? All the team members in a team should be expertised. Full custom application specific integrated circuits are only designed for high volume products such as CPUs and ICs for consumer applications, right? Let us go for a standard cell or cell based ASIC which is shown here, right? In this case, logic blocks from standard cell libraries, whatever the things which you go for having in the library, which has been already kept in the library, or it may be used with full custom blocks, system level macros, which we go for calling that as abbreviated as SLMS, functional standard blocks, FSBS, are used for designing in case of standard cell application specific integrated circuits. That means that we go for using the standard blocks which are present in the library, or we go for using some designed blocks here. Obviously, the NRE cost reduced since the cost of designing the cell library is transferred over a number of ASIC designers. Because NRE cost reduces means already we are going to use the blocks which has been designed. Obviously, the NRE cost reduces. Right? Let us come for ASIC economics. ASIC has lower unit cost than FPGA. Obviously, when you go for mass production, the unit cost of ASIC becomes very less compared to FPGA. Design and verification effort will be more in case of application specific integrated circuits. We have high non-recurring engineering cost, NRE cost. This NRE cost will be put or transferred or amortized over production run. When you go for mass production, just you are going to compensate this NRE cost at the time of production. ASICs makes sense for high volumes. That means that usually designed for high volumes. Finally, coming to the conclusion now. We studied what are integrated circuit families, manufacturing of integrated circuits, went for studying small scale integration and medium scale integration, TTL logic families, medium scale integration example, large scale integration and very large scale integration. In case of ASICs, we studied about what is full custom design and standard cell design. I can see that our time is just about up so to finish. In the next session, we'll learn about programmable logic device. I would like to say thank you, students.